Do we need to correct the dog, punish the dog every time it bites? At first, I think the answer is straightforward. Yes. But if you step back and you think about it, uh, the answer and the question has nuances. Because we shouldn't punish a dog without knowing the context of the bite. Now, let me give you an example. Say that you take your dog to the woods and it gets injured. A really horrible injury. The paw is mangled. If you were to go to approach that dog and try to touch his or her paw, the likelihood that you're going to get bitten is really high because the animal's in pain. But just because the dog bit you, it doesn't mean that it deserves punishment. And that's an important distinction to make. That every bite doesn't have to invoke punishment. It doesn't. You know, we as human beings, we think that if we engage in confrontation, and sometimes we even look for this. I mean, I see dog trainers out there that the first thing that they hoping for is a confrontation with a dog because they want to show the dog who the boss is. And to me, that's absolutely a no-no. Confrontation, right, shouldn't be the first thing you look while you're training for a dog for something. For anything, doesn't matter what it is you training a dog for. Confrontation, that thing is I'm gonna meet face to face with you. Shouldn't be the first thing in a relationship with a dog. Let's think about it a little bit more, right? It's not something that we expect dogs to do to other dogs. In other words, if you see two dogs meeting face to face, you know something bad's gonna happen. And if you are a good dog trainer, I mean, you try to avoid that, right? You try to dissipate the event. I mean, hopefully you at this point you will understand that the best way for dogs to greet is perhaps short interval dog sniffing ass, right? Smelling the business card of another dog. But somehow, as dog trainers, we think that confronting a dog's bad behavior with punishment is the number one way of going about solving a dog's problem, and it shouldn't, because that creates an enormous amount of problems down the road. I can see 3 problems that it creates. The first one is that most likely when a dog trainer is gung-ho on punishment and teaching the dog not to do this or that, they're using a tool, right, that separates them from the punishment, right? And usually that means an e-collar these days. Well, yeah, e-collars, they're very awesome tools. Yep, I agree. I have nothing against e-collars. I use them. I don't use them for every dogs that I see because I don't think it's necessary. But when you use a tool on day 1, minute 1, first interaction with a dog as an aversive, you're really giving the tool a horrible name, because really you're setting the tone for that dog, and the tone is don't fuck around. That's the tone you want to set, right? The problem with setting that tone is that doesn't translate to the owner, and it doesn't translate to the world outside. Dogs are smart enough to know that, for this one guy, for this one time, for this one particularly engagement, whether it be a day or 6 weeks, he's gonna behave differently. They're smart enough to know that. The problem happens when the dog goes home to the real world and the owner doesn't have the timing, it doesn't have the willingness to escalate to a really harsh correction, and then you have a dog that, might be at a different escalation and tempo, and that's a very dangerous dog, right? So let's keep that in mind. that every time a dog bites doesn't necessarily have to be followed by punishment, and that the first interaction that you have with a dog shouldn't be punishment. It shouldn't. I mean, teach the dog, right? Teach the dog, proof the dog, teach the dog, proof the dog, give him the benefit of doubt. And then, only then, if the behavior the dog is displaying is very dangerous, I'm the first one to say punishment is called for, right? But that's at the end of the engagement. That's at the very end, when we have given the dog the benefit of the doubt. And for 99% of dogs, that benefit of the doubt is all they need. It's all they need, you know? It's all they need to understand that the world out there is not so dangerous. They shouldn't be so afraid. That they should have, you know, to build the self-esteem to be confident dogs. Punishment is not the answer to everything. And if there are dog trainers out there, they are selling the mantra that punishment solves all the problem, and there are many out there, they are very successfully, may I add, they're doing a disservice to the profession and a dishonor to the dog. After all, we're dog trainers. The dog is the most important thing in the business. The dog. To honor the dog. Please don't forget that.